My name is Jake. I have this clothing company called Flint and Tinder. And like I was saying, some things have gone well, some things haven't gone well. But the things that have gone well enough and public enough that people ask me for help with their brand. And in answering their questions and in talking to them, what I realize is that they might not actually even know what a brand is. What they might really be asking me for is help with a clothing company or a clothing line because they don't really understand what a brand is. And sometimes when I answer those questions for them, I realize that maybe I don't always remember what a brand is. And so I thought it'd be really helpful if, as a group, we talked about what is a brand and how will I know if I'm building it. It's very important. You have to be cognizant of it if you're going to do it. Which way do I point this? Okay. So this is going to be a little interactive. I need everybody's help. But to me, understanding branding all starts with this couch. This very couch. So can somebody tell me something about this couch?
IKEA.
IKEA? Fine, fair enough. How about like anything else? Tell me two more things. Yes?
About the color.
About the color? What color? It's a black couch. Dark blue. Something like that. Yes?
Where you sit down and take a moment to think.
You sit, it's a good couch for thinking. All right, I'm gonna accept that. But moving forward, we want people just to shout stuff, right? Just shout anything about the couch. Okay. So here's the thing about this couch. It's actually made by Playboy. This is their, I think it's called the Playboy After Dark collection. I used to work at Playboy. They made a push into homeware. So now, what can you tell me about the couch? Anybody? Anything at all?
It's empty.
It's empty. All right, okay, it's empty, sure. Anything else? Like, who is the couch for?
Playgirls.
It's for playgirls. All right, okay. And it pulls out into a bed. Yeah, okay. Anything else? One more thing. Somebody. It's two people to sit in it. Sure. All right. I might also say it's probably for bachelors. It probably fits in a bachelor pad. I don't know, whatever. The important thing is that I just lied to you, actually, as some people pointed out. And it's not a Playboy couch at all. It's actually from the Disney Home and Decor collection. You can find it on their website. They'll show you all of the furniture in all of their hotel rooms. It's all for sale. Disney is a great company at selling. So now, I ask you again, now, what do we know about this couch? What is it? It's wholesome, sure.
From IKEA.
It's not from IKEA, okay? Yeah, and one more thing. It's safe. All right, so it's wholesome, it's safe, it's not from IKEA, and right, it's like probably for families, it's probably friendly, maybe it wasn't made using like bad stuff. Okay. So the truth, as some people caught right away, and by the way, I made this presentation on the airplane without internet connection, so I could only grab what was already on my screen, is that the couch is from IKEA, right? It looks like an IKEA couch. It's just a couch. But that as a group, we might be able to believe that it's gone from being like some sort of swinger couch to like a family-friendly couch is in fact the power of a brand, right? That's what brands do. Right. Brands, but we still don't know what one is or how we build it. We can just agree that brands can change our perception of things. Fine. Perfect. So now, let's talk about a brand that a lot of people probably know about in this room. Zappos. What can you tell me about the Zappos brand?
They don't make couches.
Shoes, they don't make couches, anything else?
Customer service.
Customer service, yeah, that's a good one. Free shipping, yeah. Customer service, free shipping, shoes, wow, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so now let's assume that Zappos is going to launch an airline, right? It sounds insane, but we should all remember that Virgin was a record company and they launched an airline. So, maybe anybody can launch an airline. Right, except that Virgin wasn't really just a record company, it was about something else. It was maybe about rebellion, and there's nothing more rebellious than blowing up the airline industry. So, scratch that. Okay, all right. Let's forget the Zappos airline and instead say Zappos is just running the customer service, which we all agreed it was for, of an airline, right? So Zappos runs the customer service of Delta Airlines. Now, would you fly that? Anybody? Yes? Yes? Yes. Okay, yes. Fair enough. I think this room is probably skewed because I asked 100 people using a system called Mechanical Turk, would you fly an airline? Would you fly Delta Airlines if Zappos was running customer service? And the vast majority of the people said no. And the reason why they said no was because great customer service is great, but it's not going to fix a bad flight, right? So they didn't actually believe that Zappos, the king of customer service, right? This guy, our happiness guru, Tony Hsieh, and his crack team of televangelists could actually make a bad flight better. They didn't want to do it. Fair enough. So next question is, what if Amazon sold you the airline tickets? Would you buy the airline tickets then? Yes, right. Everybody says yes. So when I sent that same thing, everybody said yes. 100% of the people said they would buy airline tickets through Amazon. And the reason why is because Amazon is about price and selection, and they all believed that Amazon could deliver price and selection. So now we know that brands can color our vision of things, but really a brand is a promise, right? Zappos makes the promise of customer service. Amazon makes the promise of price and selection. And the important thing to know is that that promise doesn't even have to be rooted in history. It just has to be deliverable, kinda, right? You kinda have to believe that Zappos can deliver happiness. There's connection enough, it's reasonable. Okay, hold that thought. Brand equals promise. It's an important one. Let's talk about this brand. What can you tell me about this brand?
Potential. It has
Shoes, yes. And I heard potential.
human potential.
Human potential. Amazing. Like 2 more things. Anybody else? High price, just do it? Yeah, right, okay. So Nike, it's really about just do it. It's about athletics. It's anybody can be an athlete. And it totally makes sense because Nike invented the running shoe and they've evolved it ever since, right? So of course Nike can deliver on that promise. So here, like, seriously, pro tip, if you're gonna launch a company or a brand or anything in that realm, try to pick a name that people think they already know. So Buckyballs, from minute one, people would go, I know of that. What is that? Because we named it after a thing that existed in other spaces and places. And before that, my partner in that business, he had a bottled water company that I worked for called Tapped NY. Same thing. I would tell people I'm working for this bottled water company, Tapped NY, and they'd go, I know that. And I'd say, yeah, and we launch it tomorrow. You know, like, how do you know that? Thusly, my clothing company, Flint and Tinder, is again a name that, like, like Flint and Tinder, what do you do with that? You start a fire when you're camping. Yeah. Ugh. So, what else can I tell you?
Why did you start a clothing company?
Why did I start a clothing company? So Buckyballs were made in China. The product had to be made there. It made a lot of sense. And we employed about 100 people working 24 hours a day in 2 different shifts. In our New York office, there were 8 employees, and I honestly felt like we could get by with 4. Why are there 8 of us here? And so looking at the economy and thinking about some other hopes and aspirations that I had, I thought I wanted my next thing to really be the inverse of that, right? Wouldn't it be great if we could create 100 jobs in America and have 4 people sitting in an office in Hong Kong thinking about that? And so I began an odyssey to find a business that would work for that. And actually, coming back to branding, I used to be in magazines, and I always thought you would have, you were a successful brand, you had a really powerful brand when you could put that name on bed sheets. Just bed sheets, right? Just nothing at all, just a blue sheet. And you would put your brand name on it and people would understand the difference. So for example, if we said this was the Maxim bed sheet, Maxim magazine, you would go, oh, right, yeah, it's like that Playboy couch. And so I called Bed Bath & Beyond, who was a customer, and said, I want to make you bed sheets under a man's name. Because in the Bed Bath & Beyond store, they have sheets under a woman's name, and they have sheets labeled hotel, which must mean luxury. But there's nothing under a man's name. And so if you showed up and you were a man, how would you know what sheets are for you? So I wanted to create a bedsheet line. I called it Thomas Sullivan, and I wanted to make them in America. It turns out you can't make bed sheets in America. It took me about a year to figure that out, and along the way, clothing came into my mind. I met a lot of t-shirt factories that were sort of on the ropes, and I thought, you know, if they could make underwear, because nobody was making premium underwear, they would really have something going on. And we're back to Nike. Nike, just do it. Athletics, got it? Check. Yes?
Yeah.
Focused.
Jake,
Yeah.
let us know. We're gonna scroll through.
We're gonna, what?
Yeah, you're just gonna have to say.
All right, okay. Next. Perfect. What can you tell me about this brand? Converse, anybody, anything at all? Shoe, rubber, I didn't hear it. It was like a basketball, that's good. Music, classic, that's interesting. Yeah, okay. It's owned by Nike? I didn't know that. All right, next. So most people don't say athletic for Converse, which is weird because Nike invented the running shoe, Converse invented the basketball shoe, and they still make basketball shoes, but why isn't Converse athletics when Nike is? Next. It's because of this, right? They're advertising something else. Converse is like originality, it's authenticness, it's like a little bit rock and roll, it's expressive. Next. It's because that's what they choose to sell. We're sort of missing the bottom here, but the important thing to know on this one is that these are products, these are logos, but none of these things are brands, right? And the reason why is because, next, brands are promises. That's what we said earlier. A brand is a promise. It's not a logo, it's not a product, it's a promise. So Converse promises individuality, even though they make athletic shoes too. Next. Pro tip. So here's how you can figure out what a brand's promise is. And here's how I do it when I'm thinking about brands, which is actually something that I think about quite a lot. I'll take a product and I'll apply a brand to it that brand doesn't make, and I'll try to figure out how I feel about it. So sort of like we did with the couches, except maybe better. So next, if I told you this box of chocolates was made by Yves Saint Laurent, what could you tell me about it? Sexy. It's expensive. It's luxurious. I think I heard sophisticated. Exactly, right. Next, if I told you this hotel was built by Lululemon, what could you tell me about that? Yoga classes, athletic, right. Like the transparent, the food in the cafeteria is probably healthy, exactly. Next, if I told you this motorcycle was made by Flint and Tinder, what would you tell me about it?
It blows up.
Right, like nothing. None of you know anything. Rugged, sure. Yeah, I guess, right. Like, I don't know, nothing. Next. So here's why. Here's the important things. Brands are promises, but they live in consumers' minds. It doesn't live in your mind. It lives in the mind of other people. Next. So here's how you actually build a brand, and here's why none of you know what the Flint and Tinder brand is. I didn't tell you anything about it. I just showed up and I said I made clothes, I made this shirt, I made these pants. I didn't tell you why they're special. I didn't tell you what is motivating me and my brand and what the promise is around that clothing. So we promised to try harder. We promised to deliver more. We promised to change the game, all this kind of stuff, but I didn't tell you that. Here's how you create a brand. First, you ask yourself who you want to be and what is the promise you want others to see in you. Then, and this is the important part, this is what I skipped, you need to tell other people your promise at every turn. So, if you get to announce yourself on a stage in front of a bunch of people, tell them what the promise is. And if you get to take a picture that represents your brand, show it in that photography. And if you get to send an email, make sure to include the promise there, and on your envelope, and on the package, and on the hang tags. And 3, this is equally important, you need to deliver on that promise at every turn, right? You can't break that brand promise. You made a promise, you keep it. And eventually, if you keep keeping that promise and you keep telling people that promise, even people who haven't bought your product will understand that promise. And they will see that promise in your brand. And that is how you build a brand. Otherwise, you're just making clothes. So, I have my work cut out for me. Thank you for your time. Now is when you clap.